What's up, everybody? Welcome to the stream today. We're talking about how to think inside the box. And I think it's going to be a really good stream. We're going to be giving some practical tips, some encouragement for content creators. And I'm really excited to hang out with everybody today. So let's go ahead and dive right into it. We're talking about thinking inside the box. It's a little counterintuitive, but I think that it will all make sense why we're talking about this particular subject. All right, so thinking inside the box. What's up, everybody? I see you guys in the chat. Brittany, hey. Digital Planner Co's joining us. Awesome. So excited to have you guys here. We're thinking inside the box today. Again, that's a little counterintuitive because a lot of times you hear that you want to think out of the box, right? You want to be creative, but I actually think in a lot of ways, thinking inside the box makes you more creative. And we're going to dive into why that is and really talk about a question that I posed earlier to my YouTube community and on Instagram, which was what keeps you from creating the content you want to create? All right. What keeps you from creating the content you want to create? Go ahead and let me know in the chat your answer to this question. What keeps you from creating the content you want to create? I asked this and I got a lot of different different responses, and I think that it was really enlightening to see the different reasons that we all have for like what keeps us from creating content and what keeps us from creating the content that we want to be making. And so I want to share some of those responses today and really shed some light on some of those things. So go ahead and let me know in the chat your answers to those questions. All right, so here we go. There's a quote that I heard that completely changed my way of thinking, because I was always taught and always heard like, hey, as a creative, you should think outside the box. Think like in new ways and original ways. And I'm all for that. But I heard this quote and I want to share it with you guys and just get your opinions and what you think of it. The quote is, passion plus limitation equals innovation. Passion plus limitation equals innovation. And I find this, I'll actually leave this up for you guys. I find this is really, really true, right? I think that as content creators, we have passion for the content that we want to be making, right? We're excited about creating videos and sharing content, helping people out or whatever it is. But sometimes we're met with limitations. Maybe we feel like we don't have time. Maybe we feel like we don't have the gear that we need. Maybe we feel like our space is too small or we're afraid. And I think we have these limitations that we find, but the innovation, which is in a way creativity, comes when we decide to not just say we don't have resources, but to say we can be resourceful with what we have. We can be resourceful with what we have. So, what are your thoughts about that? Passion plus limitation equals innovation. I have found this to be very, very true in my own life. And again, going back to, I want to share some of the common responses that I got for these answers. And I'm going to go ahead and shout out a couple of you guys now. Let's just kind of highlight some of these. We've got Brittany saying overthinking for sure. I've been there 100%. Overthinking can be a major thing that we face. We've got Mr. Brooks says over planning. Says Nomi's kitchen. Sometimes it feels like I'm not good enough. 100%. I've been there. I feel that. We're going to talk about that in a little bit, so stick around. All right. So all of that to say, let's go ahead and dive into some of these responses. Time. All right. Which one of you have dealt with this issue? The issue of time, right? Maybe it's you're working a full-time or part-time job and you just feel like you don't have enough time to commit to the content, or maybe you've got a lot of kids and a lot of family responsibilities and it's hard to carve out and find the time, right? There's a lot of different reasons why this can be so pivotal. So let me share some of the responses that I got. On YouTube, we see some of these responses. I'll go ahead and share my screen fully. So we've got, I don't have enough time after part-time work and running my business, learning marketing and designing my book cover. There just isn't enough time left. We've got family obligations, tough doing this by myself and still be a halfway decent parent. Full-time engineering job gives me little time and little energy. Think I might quit for a regular part-time gig in a few months just to give YouTube a real go. And we've got, honestly, it's my job. Takes up most of my time. Alongside with taking care of my family, I'm literally left with little time to myself. But when I do have, I make sure to knock out everything I can. All right, and then let's share some Instagram ones as well. We've got time. It takes a lot of time, motivation, time creating while also having a full-time job, all of that stuff. So a lot of similar responses, right? So a lot of people are struggling with this issue of time. And I want to give you some practical tips when it comes to time, all right? I want to give you some practical tips. The first thing is you give time to your priorities. All right. So what you prioritize in your life is going to get your time. So I get that, a lot of us will have, different responsibilities, whether that's our full-time job, family, whatever it is. But I think that there's also a lot of free time we find in our day where, we just sort of level out. We just kind of watch different shows on Netflix, or we consume content on YouTube, and we're not actually making any progress, right? And so you give time to what you prioritize. So my advice is to find pockets of time. Find pockets of time throughout your day. On your lunch break, on your lunch break during your job, work on an outline. Jot down some notes of that next idea you want to do, right? When you get back and you have a little bit of free time, right? I think that there's some awesome opportunities to dive into actually starting to create. The biggest thing is you really need to figure out where you want to be at a year from now. Okay, so where do you want to be a year from now, and what can you do to adjust your schedule to give yourself that time and make it a priority in your life if it really does matter? I'm not saying it's easy. It's not. I'm not saying you're going to love it all the time. It's work, right? But at the end of the day, do you want to see a change, and do you want to go down that road? And I'll share these little bullet points with you guys here. So you give time to your priorities, find pockets of time, consume less, create more. And what do you want a year from now? Consume less, create more. I want to just talk about that for a second, because I really do feel like this is a note for somebody out there, all right? I feel like, as I've been guilty of this, I hope you guys know anything that I'm saying and sharing with you guys is for encouragement, and it's stuff that I've had to walk through myself. And so consume less stuff. Like, I think at the end of the day, I as a content creator, I don't want to tell you that because I want you to consume my content. But if it's preventing you from making progress, stop watching this video. Like, stop watching all the things, because start applying what you have learned rather than trying to keep sharpening your knowledge. You're going to learn so much more by just actually doing something, actually making progress. Okay. So I'm all for strategy. I'm all for knowledge. I'm all for those things that will help get you ahead of the game and help you go further faster with the right tips and the right strategy. But it means nothing if you never apply. It means nothing if you never apply. All right. So that's my little 2 cents for the time. I want to share this next one with you guys, which is location. Location. All right. This could be, let me share some of the comments that I did get. We have living at home, not having enough quiet time to create. Think I need to soundproof my space so I can create vids without worrying about interruptions. Any of you guys have that problem? It's too noisy, right? It's too noisy. We've got space location. We've got creative environment. Doesn't stop me, but it doesn't energize me either. I need light. All right. So again, we have these different responses here. And I think that this is definitely something that people deal with, whether you feel like, oh man, if only my space was bigger, if only, it wasn't so loud where I live, if only, ABC, whatever it may be. You can come up with excuse after excuse after excuse, but the reality is you can still make awesome content and you can get creative with some cool solutions. So maybe you don't feel like you have enough space where you're at. Chances are you probably do. You may just need to rework it a little bit, rearrange a little bit. There's this, let me go ahead and share some of this stuff with you, but there's this quote that I heard a long time ago that I've just really adapted and held on to. And it's creators are furniture movers. All right. Creators are furniture movers. So don't just accept the way that your room is laid out. Like if you want to get serious about content creation, move everything out of that room, rearrange it for content, and find new ways to store things. Maybe get rid of some things that you don't need right now. There's a lot of cool opportunities. You don't have to just accept like, oh, this, dresser is over here and I can't move this thing because my desk it's here. Well, maybe you can move it. Maybe you can rearrange it. Maybe your desk can be in the shot. There's a lot of different options. So just think about how you can rearrange the furniture to your advantage to make it work if you're in a small space. Now, if you still can't, go shoot somewhere else. Go outside, find a nice tree as a background, a nice wall somewhere. There's a lot of good ideas that you can do. Go inside your car and film, record a voiceover. Go inside a closet and record a voiceover. There's a lot of different things you can do to get creative. Don't just accept like, oh, this is just where I'm at. If only I had a huge studio to do everything. Like, you don't need all that. You can get started now. The next thing is to look for the gold. All right. Look for the gold. So figure out what it is in your space, in your location, in your area that is really cool. Maybe you live, in a small town, but there's like a cool looking building somewhere. Go shoot around there. Maybe there's a nice park. Go there. Maybe you can rework your room and put a little picture in the background to make it nice. There's a lot of different ideas. So look for the gold. It's there. You just got to find it. All right. And then here's the thing. You are what makes the content interesting. It doesn't matter how cool of a background you have. Ultimately, it's you that makes the content unique. So wherever you are, it's going to be what shines through and the message and the way people connect. Okay. So, just know that. And also the photographer's best tool is his scissors. This is something I actually learned when I went to college and I had a black and white film photography class. But my teacher said that the photographer's best tool is his scissors. And basically what this means is composition. Okay, so you may be in a space that is really messy. Maybe you've got, as we see Digital Planner here, she says, yes, 6 kids, never a dull moment. So maybe she's in a space where she's got all these kids going around. You can find a small little section that you can have neat and clean or just clean up and tidy to film your content. It could be just, like I could zoom in here. It could be, just your face, right? So you can get really tight, kind of close off everything, and now all of this is what I'm showing you. What I'm choosing to show you is only this background with a little bit of the plant, right? Because I zoomed in and rearranged my shot. But if I go back out, this is the full shot. Okay. So I've actually already cropped in a little bit. Let me get it back where it should be. Yeah, around there. So again, I'm using this cropping composition tool, my scissors, to show you guys what I want to show you. And you can do the same thing in your space. All right. You can do the same thing in your space. So hopefully that's adding a little bit of value to you guys. All right. So let's talk about the big one. All right. This is the big one that personally I hear a lot. And that is gear. All right. Gear. I think a lot of us content creators allow the lack of gear to keep us from starting, to keep us from improving, to keep us from, posting and hitting publish. I think the lack of gear and the fear of gear kind of keeps us from, making progress. All right. So here's some of the responses I got with gear. I plan on saving and investing in camera equipment. Then I spend that money somewhere else. Don't know what's wrong with me. Well, that could be, if that's you, like, come on, it's discipline. We got to be disciplined. We got to budget. We got to plan and prepare. So, save and then actually invest in the things you want. Because again, think of that future you. Think of a year from now you, where you're going to be at, right? We've got not having the gear I need and equipment. Okay. So we've got these different things that we feel like are keeping us from creating the content that we want to make. And it's all this gear related stuff. Well, I want to share some tips with you guys about this. The best camera is the one you have on you. All right. This is a great quote that I totally agree with, but it's like, if I, as a, content creator, it's like I have a nice camera. I've got stuff that I've worked hard for and saved up for. But here's the thing. I just think that ultimately this right here, this phone is plenty. Like, this is totally good. And the reality is we always have this on us. Like, we don't go anywhere without this. So you're always going to have this. A lot of times this is the only camera that is on you, and it will do just fine. You don't need to go invest in the latest, the greatest, but what you should do instead is sharpen your skills. Okay. Sharpen your skills. The gear will come. And I actually have some videos about, how to do some cool things with your smartphone, but you can really, really like just make some really cool stuff with this. All right. Because the reality is, and the cool thing is you'll learn if you can max this thing out to its limits, if you can push it as far as it will go, you will appreciate it that much more when you do have a camera, because you'll have learned what to do on this. Like, you can download apps that will let you control your exposure and change your resolution and do different frame rates. Like, there's a lot of cool things that this phone can do. And the reality is, if you're watching this video or if you've answered on Instagram, chances are you probably have some form of a phone, some form of a smartphone. Or even a computer with a little webcam or something. There's a lot of ways that we can use this device to get into some cool results. Focus on storytelling and content value. This is huge. I think a lot of us want and think that if we get, the top level gear, if we get the best light, the best audio, the best camera, then we're going to have the best videos. And that is just not true. Okay. It's just not true. You could have the best quality, but if what you have to say doesn't help anyone, doesn't add value to anyone, doesn't entertain anyone, then it doesn't matter how good it looks. It's still going to fall flat, and it's not going to stand out because people won't have a reason to want to watch it. Okay. So use something like this and focus on getting better at storytelling, better at captivating an audience, better at adding value to people, and just sharing your wisdom, sharing your passion with and building a community, right? Because you can have the best quality camera and audio and lighting, and it will all fall short if you aren't getting better at communicating and better at building and loving what you do. And you can do all of that with something like this. Okay. So all that to say, focus on the storytelling and the content value. All right. And the content value. And then we've got upgrade slow. Newer isn't always better. If you're worried about gear, you don't need to go buy everything all at once. Upgrade a little bit at a time. Focus on what's going to give me the best transformative result for the least amount of money, right? So a lot of times that can be something like buying a $50 softbox, and that can be a big investment, but it will give you a great return. Guess what? I'm using a $50 softbox right now. I'll turn it off. This is what I would look like without it. I turn it on. It looks a lot better. It was a $50 investment. You don't need to go buy a $1,000 light. Can you? Yes. Do you need to? No. So you'll start to learn what you can do and how you can level up. And I've got a lot of videos on the channel if you're interested. But all that to say, you can definitely make some crazy good results with honestly budget gear, especially if you learn the technique and you sharpen the skills and you practice and you work on your content value. It will make all the difference. All right. It will make all the difference. Cool. I'm going to hop in here to the comments for a second. What's up, everybody? Let's see. We've got a person, no restricted audits. Will you review my content? I will. I will try to. Go ahead and I'll put a link at the end of this stream because I don't know if it's in there right now, but I'm going to be doing content reviews soon. Okay, so I have an application page. You can go apply for a chance to get a review. All right. So go ahead and do that. He says, I struggle with post color correction. I've got some videos on color correction. Go check it out. All right. But yes, you can apply. Anybody watching, I'll put a link after this stream. So just maybe come back around or check out one of my past streams. I have a link, but I am going to be doing content reviews soon. So if you're interested in that, you can apply. All right. Cool. Awesome. All right, let's move on. Let's move on to the next. And this is honestly, personally, one of the biggest things that kept me for a long time. And I'm really excited to dive into this topic. All right. So let me know in the comments if you're somebody that deals with fear. Do you deal with fear? I think that fear is definitely something that I have struggled with for a long time. It kept me from starting my channel for over 3 years. And it's real. It's a real thing. And I want to address, some of the things around this topic. But let me know if fear is something you struggle with in the comments. Be bold, be brave, be courageous. Comment. We can all admit we struggle with stuff sometimes. All right. So here's some of the things that people commented. I think I overwhelmed myself with wanting to do too much and getting absorbed in it, then burning out before I even get to the good stuff. I've totally been there. Being a massive perfectionist. Absolutely. I think that's a huge thing that a lot of us struggle with. For me, it's psychological barriers. I'm afraid I might regret showing a part of my life to random people on the internet. Not sure how to rewire my brain to solve this. Hey, I get it. That's a huge part about, I struggle with that myself. A lot of times I'm like, oh, should I share this part? Should I share this? Should this just be for me and my family, or should I allow people to see into this area? Like, absolutely. Like, that's definitely something that we can struggle with. Here's some Instagram ones that people shared. Doubt, finding my niche, writer's block, overthinking. We had some people say that earlier. Perfectionism, being overcritical of finished content instead of just posting it. Totally. I get that. It's just me who stops me from creating the content. Always it's you versus you. We can be our own worst enemy. Absolutely. And shyness, it can be nerve-wracking to get in front of the camera. Absolutely. But here's the thing. I think for me personally, all right, for me, I'm not saying, this is not, I'm not saying this is you. I'm just saying this is a lot of times for me, perfectionism, comparison, being overcritical, overthinking. A lot of times for me, it's a pride issue. And I start to put my worth in my work. And then I start to get validation from the hypothetical opinions of others. And at the end of the day, that's not going to be good or healthy, right? So the reality is, and the thing I have to remind myself is like, hey, my worth as a person, my identity, is not wrapped up in how good this video is. Like, at the end of the day, I know I'm loved by God, my family, my friends, and I don't have to prove anything to anyone. And I want you guys to hear that. Like, don't try to prove yourself with your content. Yes, it's good to sharpen your skills, get better, get results, but don't put your identity on it. Don't put your validation and your self-worth on if a video does good, because the results can vary, and you don't want your emotional self to vary all the time. You need a firm foundation, right? So just something to consider. I've had to walk through this again and again, just being real. But at the end of the day, I know that I'm loved by God, my family, my friends, and I don't have to prove anything. So all that to say, that's one way that I deal with fear. But here's some other practical steps, okay? Let's see. Take the next step and start creating. take the next step and start creating. Wow, what a concept. It seems so easy, right? And I get that it can be hard, but it doesn't mean like, okay, I'm feeling shy, I'm going to go get in front of the camera. Maybe your first step is to go sit down and write an outline and actually get your thoughts together so that when you do get in front of the camera, you can feel bold and confident, right? So, or maybe it's just doing some research. Like maybe that's your next creative step. It's like sitting down and researching some titles ideas, some thumbnail ideas, and maybe making those, and just take that next step. Don't let the thought process of I need to have it all figured out. Maybe if you start creating, you'll find the inspiration that you're looking for. That's what I find a lot of times is like, if I actually get started and I'm like, working on a title idea, it's like, whoa, light bulb idea. That just gave me 5 points for a video, so things chain react off each other. But if you're just always waiting until you have everything figured out, all the ducks in a row or whatever, it's not really going to work too well, right? That's why you won't make progress and you won't see the results that you're looking for because you just get paralyzed. And you don't want to get paralyzed. So take your next step, whether that's a title, a thumbnail, reaching out to a creator for a collaboration, and if you're stuck with ideas completely, like here's a thought that you can practically go do. Go search competitors in your niche or people that you look up to in your industry and read through their comments and just see like, hey, what are people wanting to know? And that could give you some inspiration. And again, that's a research step that you're taking to move forward, right? Fail forward. Start now, start messy. Your first videos will be your worst videos, and that's okay. I think the best thing that we can do is to not be afraid to start because we want it to be so perfect. That kept me from starting for 3 years. And ultimately I look back and like, man, that's 3 years that I could have been building this channel, posting videos, doing, making steps towards my goals. But I let fear get in the way because I wanted to start perfect. And at the end of the day, I didn't still, so the biggest thing I can say is like, hey, get started. You'll learn so much faster. So start now, start messy. Let's see if I can share this. All right. Don't place your worth in your work. We already talked about that a little bit. And don't try to be someone else. All right. A lot of us will see like, other creators just killing it and doing awesome content. And it's like, man, our stuff doesn't quite look like that. I wish mine looks more like so-and-so's, but hey, don't try too hard to be someone else. Like you are your own person. You are unique. And I say this all the time on this channel, creativity is like a fingerprint. All right. It's very unique to you. It's not supposed to look like someone else. So don't play the comparison game, and you'll be able to get into some progress there. All right. So all that to say, oh, hey, that boy, Robin, what's up? We got a super chat. Thank you so much for donating, man. That's awesome. I really appreciate you guys. I hope that this is, giving you all some encouragement today. I think like at the end of the day, this stuff is real. We deal with this as content creators, right? So, I think like this is definitely one of those things, we all deal with this stuff, right? We all deal with the fear. We deal with the perfectionism. We deal with the comparison because we're putting something out there, like we're making something, right? It doesn't matter if it's a simple selfie or a full-fledged video that you've edited and spent tons of time on. Like you're putting a part of you out there for people to just accept it, judge it, do whatever they want to with it. And that can be a scary thing. But here's the best thing that I've found with all of this is when I'm focused on what, and I'll talk about this even further, but just a foreshadow. If I'm worried about like, how is this content benefiting me? That's usually when I deal with issues. But if I flip it, I'm like, you know what? No, I'm making this for someone else. Like I'm doing this to add value to people. There's a switch that goes off and it will motivate you. And we're going to talk about that in just a second. Okay. Because we're coming up to our last little topic for sort of the way I've kind of organized it based on everybody's responses on what keeps us from creating the content we want to create. And that is results. Results. What do I mean by results? I mean, these are some of the comments that I got in. So, truth be told, it's just not seeing the results I feel like I should be getting for the amount of work I put in. Totally, I get that. You know, so many factors play a key in my life to create content to encourage others. I can't encourage when I don't feel encouraged myself, just my thoughts. Can totally understand that. You know, I think 100% there's some truth there. That only me and my cat will be the total view count. I've been there before. You know, I totally understand the fears there. Just having the right video. See, I think all my videos should go viral, but I know I'm not at that level yet. But I also just don't want to create anything. Well, that's a whole other issue, but we'll talk about this in a second. Not getting a lot of subs, the fear that I'll waste 1 month in making the video and get very little amount of views on it, right? So there's a common thread here where we're letting the results and the fear of not getting the results we want get in the way of us starting content. So when your goal is simply, I want to get a ton of views and subscribers, well, when that's your goal, it's pretty easy to be let down because the algorithm can be a little unpredictable. We can do everything that we can try to do everything right to add value and you know, do the best titles and thumbnails, do all that stuff. But at the end of the day, we don't have full control over those things, right? And so it can be discouraging to put a ton of work into a video and not get the amount of views that you want to receive. And here's the deal. It doesn't matter what channel size you are. Honestly, I've heard creators, you know, who have millions of subscribers who post a video and for them, it's a 10 out of 10. It feels discouraging because you want every video to be a 1 out of 10. And you know what I'm talking about when you're posting videos on YouTube and it says this performed out of your last 10 videos, 1 out of 10. You could have gotten 1 million views on that video, but if it's a 10 out of 10 for you, you feel like, oh, it's not so good. It was 1 million views. Now, on the flip side, you could have posted a video and gotten 100 views and it's a 10 out of 10. And you're like, oh man, that wasn't as good as my 200 view video, which was a 1 out of 10. But it's like, hey, at the end of the day, that's 100 people. If it's 5 people that watch your video, that's 5 people, right? 25 people is a classroom. Like, think about that. Like 25 people view your video. You have a classroom in front of you that you're teaching, right? So like get perspective and just realize it's not always about the numbers. It's not always about the subs and the views. There are other things that we can be thinking about, okay? So here is some practical tips about this subject, and I'm passionate about it. Let's go. All right. A video can take off at any time. I don't know if you know this or not, but videos can take off months after they've been posted. This happened to me and my channel. My best video on my channel, lighting for YouTube videos. Let me know in the comments if you've seen that one. It's got like 2.5 million views. Well, for about, I don't know, the first 3 or 4 months, it had maybe 500 views, 900 views, which was amazing for my channel at the time. But then all of a sudden, it just started to ramp up like crazy. I didn't do anything to make that happen. It was the same video, the same tags, the same, you know, all of it. But I made evergreen content that would be viewable years later. And because of this, I was able to, you know, see good results. So here's the thing. Don't worry if your video doesn't take off within the first hour of you posting it, like, or the first day or the first week. YouTube is the long game. It can take time. Focus on not just doing trendy content that's like, you know, here's my day, here's what I did. Like, that's fine if that's what you want to do, but a better strategy for getting the most out of your time is to focus on searchable evergreen content that can continue to get views years and years to come. So all that to say, videos can take off after they've been posted, right? Nothing is wasted. Okay, so say you make your video and you're like, all right, man, or one of those comments that was said, let me pull that up for myself real quick. It said, the fear that I'll waste 1 month putting a ton of work into this video and, you know, not getting a ton of views and subscribers. Well, here's the thing. Maybe you didn't get a ton of views and subscribers, but nothing's wasted because you learned a lot in making that video. You got disciplined and you've started that habit of creating within yourself. So it's going to be that much easier next time you go to pull out the camera. You know, you've learned lessons, you've sharpened your skills, you're better at being in front of the camera, better at talking, better at editing, better at seeing it all the way through, and you're better at hitting publish because you posted that video. So nothing's wasted. Just because you didn't get all the views and the subscribers that you were hoping to get, that's okay. You're developing that skill of like, all right, I'm getting 1% better. I'm better at hitting publish than I was before if I had not made this video. All right. So don't count those little small victories out. Like if you posted a video this month, amazing. Like let me know in the comments if you've actually posted something, whether an Instagram post, something on TikTok, you know, whether it was a YouTube video. Let me know in the comments if you've done an actual seen something all the way through. You had an idea, you sat down to film it, you filmed it with your phone, whatever, you actually edited it to some level, whether it was within Instagram or TikTok or a computer and you're doing video editing, and then you actually hit publish. That's a huge victory. So let me know in the comments if you have done that. Okay. Because here's the deal. There are thousands of people that wish they would have done that, that have the idea, that the dream of wanting to do it, but they just don't. So you're already positioning yourself. You're already positioning yourself in a great spot because you decided to follow through. All right. Pretty cool stuff. Let's go on, keep going with this. And this is the biggest one, I think, of all. Know your why. Know your why. When our main goal is like, I want to get views, I want to get subscribers, I want to make money, boom, that's my why. Money is, it's just not like, it's just not everything that you think it is. All right. Fame and the opinions of others can change in a heartbeat. You know, I think like the best thing that we can do, and I'll share my personal why, but my why when it comes to making content is to add value to other people. And there's a really cool thing that happens when this becomes your why. You know, because when your goal is money, you're never going to make enough of it. It's just the truth. If that's your goal, you'll make $1,000 and be like, sweet, now I need to make 10,000. You'll make 10,000 and be like, cool, easy, I'm gonna make 100,000. And it goes on. And then eventually you kind of get into that greed mentality and it's like, there's just not enough. On the flip side, if fame and popularity, views, subscribers, if that's your goal, people can turn and change and it won't always be there, right? And again, you're putting your self-worth on other people's opinions of you. And that's a dangerous place to live. But if you can make your why, all right, I'm making this today so I can add value to someone. That's really cool because now, even when you don't feel like making the video, maybe you're in that situation where it's like, oh, I spent a whole month last time to make that video. I didn't get hardly any views and subscribers. I don't want to do it. Well, when your why is to add value to someone, you can push past that like feeling of like, oh, I don't really want to create today. Be like, no, so-and-so needs me to make this video. It will help them. Like I now get motivation because I'm helping people, right? I'm helping people down the road, like get better and see results and do all this stuff. And it's not just about me anymore, right? So know your why. I think it can really make like a great shift in your mentality when you start making stuff for other people. And enjoy the process of creating. Just enjoy making videos. Like, here's the thing. If you want to be like successful as a content creator, you need to fall in love with making content. Like you've got to be passionate about it. You need to love it. It's like, yes, you may be passionate about whatever it is, like say it's cooking, but are you passionate about actually making content? Like if it's just so frustrating and annoying and you dread it, you're like, oh, I have to film this video again and do this. Like content creation may not be for you. Honestly, you need to see if like, do you actually enjoy creating? Because it can be one of the most fun and rewarding things, right? But I think a lot of times we get so focused on the results that we start to dread the very idea of actually just making videos. And it's like, man, if shift that perspective and like try to actually enjoy the process, get passionate about, learning how to better your skills in front of the camera, learning how to do cool edits, learning how to make your stuff look better, sound better. Like, if you can get passionate about those things, about the actual digital art of creating, like, it will be that much more fun and enjoyable. And yes, it can be a little overwhelming at first, and you don't have to love it all the time. Like, there's times where it's like, oh man, I need to get this. There's deadlines, there's sponsor requirements. I need to get this stuff done. It's work, it is work, but at the end of the day, like, it can still be work that you love. So fall in love with creating content, like learn how to enjoy it, learn how to get better at it. It can be so fun, so rewarding. And especially when you're not worried about, like, when your sole focus is not like, oh, how many views, how many subs, oh, this didn't perform as well. Like, there's realities there, and it's good to know that stuff. But at the end of the day, like, did you enjoy making the video? Do you think one person got value from it? And could somebody get value from it if it does take off? Think about those things, because I think it will really be helpful with that mentality shift. All right. So there's a quote I want to share with you guys. It's from Ernest Hemingway. It says, "Now is no time to think of what you do not have. Think of what you can do with what there is." Now is no time to think of what you do not have. Think of what you can do with what there is. And that's sort of the idea behind this think inside the box. It can be so challenging to sit down with a blank sheet of paper. If you're an artist, if you're a writer, if you're trying to come up with an idea for your YouTube videos, it can be daunting. It's like, I could make anything. Where do I start? Like, there's so many options out there. I could make a vlog, or I could make a tutorial, or I could do a travel film, or I could do a cooking tutorial, or I could do something in the garden, or I could go, there's too many options. You need to box it in. Okay. And now we're getting into a little bit of a power tip here. I'm going to use a buzzword in the marketing industry, but it's an important one. Niche, however you want to say it. If you can niche down your content, and what I mean by this is define your audience. Don't just try to be making something for everyone out there. Figure out, who is this for? Who am I serving? Like, who am I serving with my content? Who's this video meant for? And start to really develop a niche. So now when I go to that blank piece of paper, it's not so daunting. It's like, no, I'm like, for me, it's like, okay, I'm not talking to an aspiring, musician or chef. I'm talking to an aspiring content creator. So that gives me direction and clarity, because I allowed myself to get boxed in. Take it a step further. Am I talking to an advanced content creator, like a professional? Or am I talking to a beginner? I'm going to talk to a beginner. Boxed in, clearer. So now I know that I'm starting to make content for beginner content creators. So then I start to ask myself, well, what does a beginner need? What do they ask? Maybe they're wondering about lighting. I had that question when I was a beginner. Okay, so let me make a lighting video for a beginner content creator. It's a box inside a box inside a box. You go down, down, down. You niche down, down, down. And then all of a sudden, this daunting piece of paper becomes clear. And it's like, oh, I can just simply I know who I'm talking to. I know where they're at, and I know what they need, right? So embrace that idea of thinking inside the box. When it's expansive and there's all of the opportunity in the world, it's just too much. And then that paralyzes us, because like, I don't know where to start. Well, narrow it down, right? Narrow it down, box it in, if you will. Okay, cool. I want to share one other thing with you. That's I try to do this in every stream, because this is just something that I like to do. I shared a quote with you guys. Now I want to share an actual Bible verse with you guys. It says, "Whatever you do, whether in speech or action, do it all in the name of the Lord Jesus, and give thanks to God the Father through him." Colossians 3:17. All right. So whatever you do, Whether in speech or action, do it all in the name of the Lord Jesus and give thanks to God the Father through him. What does this mean? It means wherever it is that you're at with whatever it is that you have, just do your best with it. Like try to honor God with it, like whatever it is, like maybe you don't have the best camera, you don't have the best whatever, you don't have the best location, you feel like you don't have time, you feel like you're afraid, you feel like you're worried about the results. Like, hey, put all that to the side and just kind of, try to do your best and be thankful for what you do have. Like you've got internet right now. If you're watching this stream, right? Like amazing. Like there's just the fact that you have internet means so much possibility. There's so much opportunity there. So like all that to say, with whatever you do, whether it's your, like the verse says, whether it's your speech or whether it's your action. So what you're saying to people, how you're living your life, what you're doing, like give thanks to God, just be thankful for it and do your best. Like just do your best. That's going to make you get better. You'll learn all that good stuff. Okay. So moving on from there. Hey, that boy Robin coming through. Let's go. Another super chat. Thank you so much, guys. I appreciate you guys so much. I love getting to hang out with you all. All right. So now comes the super exciting part of the day. We're going to talk about today's sponsor. We're talking about today's sponsor, Soundstripe. Thank you so much, Soundstripe, for sponsoring this stream. If you guys don't know what Soundstripe is, well, you're starting to hear their music in the background. Soundstripe is where I get all my music for videos for YouTube or for client work. All right. And I think like ultimately they're one of the best places that I've done video reviews on going over a bunch of different music licensing sites. I found that Soundstripe was the best price and really good quality. So overall best value. They have a lot of cool stuff. So moving on into this a little bit, one of the things, this is a little screenshot from Soundstripe. One of the things I love about it is their ability to quickly search, different types of songs. So you can search by mood, by genre, by instrument, by energy of the song. So if you're like, oh, I really want to have like a fun lo-fi hip hop song, you can do that. And now I can have it playing in my stream like you're hearing here. Okay. So that's pretty awesome. They have a lot of cool playlists. I actually have my own playlist on their website. So you can see some of my favorite tracks on their site that I use for my YouTube videos. So if you go to their website, you can browse and hear some of that stuff, see if you're into it. If you like the music in my videos, that's where I get all of it. Pricing, they've got great stuff. Again, their yearly music plan is $150 a year. Okay? $150 a year. Let me put this into perspective for you. When I started out and I was freelancing back in 2015, I spent upwards of $4,000 on music for my films, right? Whether that was wedding videos or client work, like music licensing is expensive. And I used to spend over $4,000 a year just to have quality music for my projects. And now there's places like Soundstripe that's offering this for $150. I mean, come on, like that's awesome. That's like just a few dollars more probably than like Spotify or something like that. So all that to say, if you want to get serious about your content creation and you have a little bit of budget and you're tired of the frustrations of looking for music everywhere, trying to find like, oh, non-copyright music, and you listen for hours, like no more of that. All the stuff on their website is super quality. I usually find a track, and they say on average, most creators find a track within 5 minutes for their project. That saves me time. Amazing. And we know how important time is because we talked about that. All right. So cool stuff. Awesome. Love Soundstripe. Use code creative20 to save 20% at checkout if you do want to do that, so you can make that 150 even less. All right. Link is in the description. Shout out to Soundstripe for sponsoring it. They're honestly one of my favorite companies to work with because, again, I started using them, I believe, back in around 2017 is when I found out about them, and I've just been using them for my music ever since. It's the only place I go. Awesome sound effects, too. Let me do a little sound effects. Let's give it up for how awesome Soundstripe is. Get some applause. If you want to have some nice sound effects, like, hey, make sure to subscribe. Have the little bell sound. Lots of cool stuff. You know, say you're in a stream or you're doing a video and you want to tell a joke. Have the little sound effects there. Really fun. So all that to say, it's good stuff. All right. Let's move on. I think this is we're nearing the end of the stream at this point. We've been going a little bit longer than normal, but I do always try to end out the streams with doing a little bit of Q&A. All right? Q&A. So, if you have a question, I would encourage you to ask it, but if you could, please put the letter Q before it and I'll be able to find it easier. But either way, go ahead and start asking some questions. I know we talked about a lot of, encouragement type stuff today, but if you've got practical questions that you want to have answered, we'll just do this for a few minutes. Let me know. I love getting to do the Q&As with you guys because it's really fun. Leave that up there. Kind of give you guys a chance to think of some questions. But hey, this has been fun. Fun hanging on the stream today. Also, if you guys ever have questions, come hang out on Instagram. All right, we got our first question in. Pizza or burgers? I like that. That's a great question. I want to say pizza. I do want to say pizza. But lately I've kind of become a little lactose intolerant. I still go pizza. I don't know. I still go pizza. I like it a lot. All right, so we've got another question. How to avoid light spill in room? I'm using Godox SL60W. Awesome. Yeah, that's a great question. I will show you an example of light spill right now. And you'll start to see how it affects everything. So I've got my key light right here. I'm going to turn it off, turn it on, okay? And I've got these lights in the background. I'm actually going to turn those off in a second. But when I run this key light and I'm like, oh, I got this nice expensive light. Well, mine's $50, but Godox SL60, awesome light. I'm going to run this at full power because that's why I bought it, right? Oh, all right. That's pretty bright. Let me actually adjust my exposure a little bit. So now I turn my exposure down, but notice all of the color in the background is kind of gone, right? It's kind of been washed out because of the spill. So what I would recommend is just don't run your light so bright. I'm going to put this at 20% and I'm going to turn my exposure up a little bit. And now everything looks a lot better, right? Because, well, at least to how I want it to look. I've got more color going on. So yeah, the best thing for light spill is like positioning and your overall output. All right. All right. So let's go back up. Got a couple questions coming in. Chronic illness advocate. How do you feel about picking a niche that is not very large? I think it's awesome. I think that if you can pick a niche that isn't very large, it's a lot easier to stand out and be the authority in it versus picking a niche that's super oversaturated. I think that with smaller niches, there's going to be really tight-knit communities and it can be really awesome. So I think it's a great thing to do. Now, obviously, if there's absolutely zero interest in that niche, then maybe not. But like, if you see that it's a niche at all, like if you can search it and see some sort of videos, there seems some sort of proof of concept, people are interested in it on some level, then I think that's great, super cool. All right. We got a question. This is actually my brother-in-law. What's up, Kevin? What is the ideal video length? That's going to totally depend, I think, on like what your channel is and really what the video is. But here's the thing. I think for YouTube, 5 minutes to 10 minutes, I think is like the ideal length. A lot of creators will do 20. It just depends on your niche, but especially for a tutorial, like if you can make it be, the shorter the better, because what you want to do is condense people's time. So rather than them having to learn something that could take them an hour, maybe you can save them that hour and give it to them in 5 minutes. Or, you know, instead of them having to search and find like 10, 20 different videos, you condense it all into one really good 10-minute video. Amazing. So I would say somewhere around there would be my recommendation for what I do on my channel, at least, and what I see works. Again, it can vary per industry. Let's see. That boy Robin, what are you using for your stream? I'm using Ecamm, and I'm absolutely loving using Ecamm. It's a Mac program, so if you don't have Mac, I would recommend StreamYard. That's what I used before. But now that I'm using Ecamm, I personally love it a lot more. The quality is higher. There's a lot of nice features. The Pro plan is actually cheaper than StreamYard. But again, it is Mac only. That's the drawback. So StreamYard is still an amazing option. But yeah, I think that Ecamm's great. Let's see. Because again, I can do cool stuff like pull up these comments, play music, share my screen. I could bring on guests, lots of cool stuff. So reading through some of these. Keep those questions coming, guys. This is fun. All right. How do you deal if you want to create videos for too big of a niche, for example, music? Great question. When you're dealing with a big niche, and it's really about like standing out, really. So again, I would just look at some of the most popular videos. So if you're teaching music, for example, I don't know if you're teaching or if you're doing like you're a musician yourself or a combo or whatever, but like do some research, figure out what some of the best videos are, and then see if you can make them even better. Honestly, because that's what it's going to take to stand out within a big niche. And just be personable and make connections with people. Focus on building a community, adding value, responding to comments, all of that stuff, because a lot of the big creators won't. All right, let's see. Any tips or videos on multi-camera setup positioning and placement for groups of people, 4 people? I don't have that specifically, but I do have some videos on my channel about lighting for multiple people, so you could go check that out. But biggest advice I would give in this situation is like, it depends on how many cameras you're wanting to use. For a 4 people thing, I think you could easily get away with 3 cameras. Do one in the middle, kind of a wide shot where you can see everyone, and then do one on the side where you frame 2 people, one on the side where you frame the other 2. Or you can, if you're able to operate it or have people operating it, you could just use the 2 side ones to zoom in on, you know, the 2 people on the left, 2 people on the right or whatever, and, you know, kind of get by that way. If you have more cameras, use them. But that would be, that's how I would do it. Or even if you just have 2 cameras and you have one wide shot, one close up on whoever's talking, cool. That gives you the flexibility in post to cut back and forth. Yeah, that would be my example. My recommendation. Let's see. Hold on, let me use this feature. Thank you guys for asking the questions. Okay, great question. Best lens for a Sony ZV-E10? That would be, in my opinion, for YouTube, talking head, live streaming type of stuff, the Sigma 16mm 1.4. It's about $300-ish, I think, $300. It will massively improve your quality. It's super sharp, gives you that nice blurry background. It's a prime lens, so that means it doesn't zoom at all. It's just always wide, but it will look really good. In my opinion, that's what I would do. If you're vlogging, then maybe just the kit lens, but yeah. All right, what is a good way to make educational content not so boring? One of the ways I like to, at least attempt to do this is with powerful edits. So using some sound effects, some good music, some quick cuts. I would really start to learn about editing because there's a lot you can do, making sure you're switching the shot every 5 to 10 seconds to re-engage, refresh the viewer's attention. little things like that. And honestly, storytelling, like, can you teach the lesson in the form of a story that intrigues people? It's really getting into like, all right, I'm not just going to show you, A, B, C equals this. It's like, one time I encountered A, and man, it really just changed my whole perspective on B. And then C came in, and now I know the answer. You know what I mean? So there's different ways to tell it. Just look into getting better at storytelling. All right, that boy Robin. I have a Sony ZV-1. Do you have any recommendations for the settings for a video like this one? Yes, I do. I actually have a video on the full settings walkthrough on the Sony ZV-E10, and it's very, very similar to the ZV-1. So you can go check that ZV-E10 settings video out, and there'll be a lot of similarities. But you'll want to do 4K. You'll want to do, I like to do 24 frames a second. You'll want to have your autofocus on a good, wide setting. Have your eye auto detect on. Put your aperture the lowest it will go. Shutter speed around 1/50, and then adjust with your ISO. If none of that makes sense, check out supersimplecamerasettings.com. That's my free camera settings course, which will explain all of those things in great detail, but will help you do it in minutes. All right. Okay, so we've got another question. Digital Planner Co. Do you have any ideas for how I can figure out my audience's pain point when making handmade apparel? It's easy with creating planners, but it's hard to resolve a problem when it's apparel. Ideas. Well, no, I don't know how to find out that exact thing, but I know how you can. So I would, if you say your audience, whether you have the audience or not, this is sort of like a power tip, but like, go research the leading people in your industry and read through their comments, and you'll start to see people asking these questions and you'll learn the pain point, right? So I think that will be a really good hack that you can use if you don't have the audience yet. Then go look at people who are trying to do that, who are trying to reach that same audience, and you'll start to see the pain point. It's just market research is really what it is. If you do have the audience, ask them. Go on Instagram and be like, hey, what's your biggest struggle with this? And just, get in the DMs, talk to people at length, and it will boost your engagement on Instagram, and you'll get the knowledge you're looking for. So that would be my advice there. Alrighty. Scrolling through one more thing real quick. Guys, this has been fun. I'm trying to stream more this year. I'm starting to get more into it. All right, let's see. Probably going to wrap this up here in just a sec. Oh, we got a super chat from Vikrant. Thank you so much. Oh, great question. Flyview's asking, do I always use the same light temperature? If not, how do I set it up? The short answer is yes. The long answer is no. In a controlled environment, yes. So if I'm in my studio space, there's no windows in here. It's just a room. I can fully control all the light. I use 5600 Kelvin. It's the color of daylight. I find that it makes the pink tones of lights look more natural. So if I was to change this instead to a warm color temperature, that pink color is now pretty blue. All right, it's kind of more purple than pink. So this is 3200 Kelvin with my key light and camera now. So watch when I change it back to 5600 Kelvin. So now that pink is pink, and to my eye in real life, it's actually pink. So I like to use 5600 Kelvin, which is the color of daylight, when I can, because I think it looks good. Now, the only reason I wouldn't is if I'm in a shooting situation where I can't control all the light. So then I'm going to need to adjust my white balance so that the whites appear white. And that could be anything at that point. Mixed lighting conditions are hard to shoot in, but it's all doable. And I talk about this at length a bit more in my course at supersimplecamerasettings.com. All right. Oh, great note from Michaela. We always say videos should be as long as they need to be, but as short as possible. That is true. All right, scrolling through. All right, guys. I think this is going to wrap up the stream. This has been fun. I hope that it's helped you think inside the box. If you've still got questions, hit me up on Instagram at Ben Johnson Creative. I always like to connect in the DMs. But yeah, guys, I think this has been really fun. We'll do this again soon. Also, thank you guys so much. I just hit 130,000 subscribers. I'm so thankful for each and every single one of you. Thank you guys so much for subscribing to the channel, hanging out here in the chat, and just being a part of this community. I'm super appreciative of you guys. It's because of you that I get to do this and I get to create more content. It's become my full-time job, and I'm always looking to add value to you guys and to serve you guys. So connect with me on Instagram. Let me know on community posts, questions that you have, all that type of stuff. It's been lots of fun, guys, and we will see you in the next one. Stay creative. Peace.